Welcome to Simply Sheppey, your community podcast which aims to create and enhance connections within the community to build a better Sheppey.
Hello. This episode I'm joined by Stevie Pettitt, the Fuel and Water Advisor for the Isle of Sheppey, funded by Swell Council and delivered by Seashells in Sheerness. Hello Stevie, thank you for being with us today.
Hello, Kay. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here today.
Well, we're very excited to hear about your project that's apparently very new, started in October. So could you tell us a little about yourself first and why you're here today?
Yes, well, as you said, my name's Stevie. I live here on lovely sunny Sheppey and have done since the early 70s.
So you are very much a staple of the island, and what you're doing with the fuel and water advice is to help the people of the island, isn't it?
Yes, because this project is aimed at pretty much everybody that lives on the island, and this is a completely free service. As you said, it was funded by Swell Borough Council, and their reason for doing this is because back in 2019, they declared a climate and ecological emergency. And part of that was to have in place a fuel and water advisor. When they say fuel, what they actually mean is gas and electricity as well as water, but it was a bit of a strange old title, gas, electric and water. So they've just called it the fuel and water. And as you said, yes, Seashells won the tender. We went live in January. So how we went live was by advertising it on Facebook.
Okay.
And of course, Swell Borough Council put some posts out, but most of it has been through social media, which has been brilliant for us. In fact, that's how I came across you, or you came across me, whichever way it was. So yeah, we went live in January, and then we had snow in February, and then all of a sudden, you're into March.
Yeah.
So yes, it's very new. We haven't actually managed to do a huge amount yet, but we have made a start.
Okay. So what have you managed to get done so far?
Okay, so through the power of social media and Swale Borough Council's Inside Swale magazine, we have put out how would you say, we've put out posts telling householders about this service, which I said is completely free, and asking them if they would like to refer in for basically what is advice on saving money, really, to be honest with you, saving money and also trying to cut down the CO2 emissions and saving as much water as we can. Water is something that gets forgotten about, so we're really keen to highlight water in this project. We have helped, I think it's 5 or 6 households now to apply for grants. People forget that there's grants out there, particularly if you've got an old boiler or that needs replacing. So there's grants out there. There is even, and a lot of people don't know this, is there's grants out there to help you if you have got into significant debt with your gas or your electric or your water. We've helped quite a few householders to switch. The average saving, if you switch your utilities, your gas and your electric, is around about £180 over a year, which is about £15 a month. I know it doesn't sound a huge amount, but over a year, that soon adds up. And to be honest with you, for me personally, I'd rather have £15 in my purse rather than giving it to the gas and the electricity companies. So
well, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. As part of this project, we also, it's a bit of an initiative, we give out what we call energy efficiency packs. So anybody that refers into me via whichever way they want to do it, to be honest with you, on the Seashells page, we have a direct link to me, which sends me a referral form, or you can do it through, there's lots of partner agencies that will refer in. We're giving away an energy efficiency pack, which has radiator panels in. These radiator panels are amazing. So they if you've got a radiator that's on a wall, it's under a window, every time you turn your radiator on, half the heat is going through that wall and heating up the world. These radiator panels just slide down the back and they send the heat back into the room.
Oh goodness, I didn't know they existed.
No, lots of people don't. And the savings on them is amazing. We've got packs of them. If you was to go and buy this pack just of the radiator panels, it would cost you £25.
Wow.
So we've got packs of those that go into the bag. We're trying to encourage householders to swap to LED light bulbs. The savings you can make on changing all of your light bulbs is huge. In fact, it was so much that my daughter managed to talk me into buying her enough light bulbs to put into her house so that she could save. And she really did save, because she didn't buy the light bulbs, I did. So she's got a bit of a double whammy there. I thought it was very clever. As soon as I told her all about it, she said, "Oh, Mum, you need to buy me some." So yeah, we've got light bulbs in there. We've got draft excluder, the sort that you can stick round your windows and drafts to stop the draft, because believe it or not, the way most people lose heat in their homes is through drafts, be it through windows, doors. You'd be surprised how much heat is lost through your house just by silly little drafts. We've got lots of other bits and pieces in there. We've got little shower timers. It's only like a little egg timer, but you put it in the shower and it's to try and encourage you to only shower for 4 minutes.
Okay.
Because again, saving water and saving on your water bills. And what we're hoping they will do is encourage children as well to not use as much water. You know, sometimes they're in the shower and they get obsessed playing with other things, bubbles and silly things, and all of a sudden you realise they've been in there for 20 minutes and you think,
it's
what
a game
are
for
they
them.
doing? Yeah. So they're in there to sort of try and encourage the children. We've got little bits, we've got leaky loo strips, because a lot of people don't realise their loo's leaking.
Oh, okay.
Because it's so subtle, the leak on a loo, that it slowly is leaking, and then the water's evaporating. So we've got leaky loo strips which you can put on your loo. You can't see, you don't see them, they're sort of a bit hidden, but if it changes colour, your loo is leaking. We've got disposable bags in there to put things that you'd use in the loo, such as perhaps sanitary products or cotton buds. We've also got some reusable face cloths. So instead of throwing away cotton wool pads, you can use these. They're great actually to remove makeup. They're a nice little size as well. Oh wow, I can't think what else is in there now, but it is actually a full little bag. There's little pots that Southern Water have given us to so that you don't throw fat down the toilet, stop all the fat bergs in the water system.
The sewages,
Yeah. So there's loads and loads of bits and pieces in these little bags. It's completely free, and anybody that has what we call a consultation with me, which is a very posh word, but actually all it means is a quick phone call and a chat about to see how we can help you to change your behaviour. And so what I'm also want to do is try and talk to as many people as I can about switching. This is madness, Kay. People don't realise you go onto a tariff and you think, oh, that's really good. That tariff is only ever for a certain amount of time. Once that tariff ends, the electricity companies will automatically switch you to the standard tariff, which incidentally is the most expensive tariff. And unless you call them, get in touch with them and say, hey, what's the best tariff for me to be on? They will let you run on that tariff. And the amount of people that don't realise, and all of a sudden they see their bills slowly getting more, is because the standard tariff is very often variable. So as the price of electricity goes up, it goes up with it. And it is so easy to switch now. Water companies, they have different tariffs for your circumstances. And people don't know that. Everybody thinks that's it, that's how much the water is. It's not. You just have to call them and talk to them about your circumstances. And they and when I say circumstances, I mean how much income you've got coming in. So a lot of them have a set income, and anybody below that or on that or below, their water tariff is changed accordingly. So no, not everybody does pay the same water tariff, which is fair, you know.
I did
and
not
they
know that.
will. No, most people don't know that, and they will do that for you, and they will help you. And I have come across households that are in significant debt to the water company. They will also help you to write that debt off. Now, it depends on which water company you're dealing with. Sometimes they will write it off for you and let you start again. Sometimes they will ask you to pay a set amount a month, and then when you've paid for 3 months or something, then they will arrange to write it off for you. There's lots and lots of things they will do. The problem with the water company is it's not their problem, but for us as consumers, is they can't cut us off anymore. And you do get householders that just forget to pay it, or they think, I'll do that next month, I'll do that next month, and all of a sudden it's become a huge bill. And unless you talk to them, they will get the bailiffs involved, which isn't something that's really very pleasant when you have a bailiff knocking at your door. When in actual fact, all you've got to do is ring and talk to them. Or in actual fact, I have a direct line to what's called their vulnerability officers for both Southern Water and South East Water. And I will give them the customer's account number, and then they will help to arrange a payment plan or reset their tariff or do whatever's appropriate for that particular customer. So once again, you don't actually even have to go through the water company unless you want to do it yourself. But I sort of go in through the vulnerability officer with the householder's permission, of course, and sort it out for them that way. So if you haven't got internet access and you can't access your bills and you can't access the company online, that's classed as being vulnerable. If you're on a low income, you're classed as being vulnerable. If you've just been made unemployed or redundant, that's classed as vulnerable. If you're a full-time carer, you're vulnerable. If you're a lone parent, you're vulnerable. If you're in a relationship breakdown, you're vulnerable. If you're experiencing a bereavement, you're classed as vulnerable. If you're living in a rural area and you're off the gas grid. And this came as a real shock to me, Kay. There are people on this island, not too far from here, who are not on the gas grid.
Oh, I did not know that either. Goodness me.
I didn't. And that's not too far from Neates Court, believe it or not. They are not on the gas grid. There is no mainline gas. How? I couldn't believe it when she told me. If you are living in a cold, inefficient home, and there's lots of houses on this island that aren't double glazed, they're older properties. So they've got solid walls. So instead of cavity walls, so heat goes straight out through the walls. If the roof's not, your loft isn't lagged, that's what they would call an inefficient home. And that would class you as vulnerable. So if you was to look at that, we would all, every single one of us, classes as vulnerable at some point in our life. At some point, we can class ourselves as vulnerable. When you get to pensionable age, you're classed as vulnerable. If you've been ill, you're classed as vulnerable. So all of the utility companies, and that's the gas, electric, water, have in place processes for what is called vulnerable. And you have to ring them up and you tell them, I'm vulnerable because I live alone. The minute you use that magic little word, vulnerable, their processes change and they deal with you very differently. The idea is actually to get out there and visit people, for them to invite me into their home and for me to see what help it is they need, how they live, how someone lives is really important. It's no good me saying, right, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, without understanding how they live, because we all live very differently. We all live very differently. So, and I want to get out there. I want to meet people. I want to help people to apply for grants that need grants, particularly with replacement heating, because if you've got an old boiler, it's chugging away there in the corner. It's not very efficient. There is the grants out there to help people do this. There's lots of companies. Swale Borough Council's one. Most people don't realise Swale Borough Council have a warmer home scheme, which if you hit their criteria, they will give you a grant to replace your heating. They will give you a grant to do so much in your home, but people don't know it's out there. And it's getting out there and telling people what's out there. I want to get as many people as I can signed on to the Priority Services Register. And this is something that you sign on to. So this is fantastic for people that say, let's just for argument's sake, are disabled and they rely on an electric bed to get themselves up and down. If the power suddenly goes off, what happens? So that bed's in an up position or a down position, and they would need to know that the power's going off, or people are need water for whatever reason. If you sign up to the Priority Services Register, they let you know when there's going to be a power cut. And really, I want to get out there and grow this project.
I love your passion. I think it's what's going to drive this. You know, I think when you have a project like this that requires people to be engaged and to be persuaded to do things, I think you need someone behind it who has this passion and this drive, and I think that you're clearly the person to do that. So you are very passionate about helping people on the Isle of Sheppey. You've been on the Isle of Sheppey for a long time. Your family is born and bred on the Isle of Sheppey, and this podcast is all about the Isle of Sheppey. So my next question is, what is your favourite thing about the Isle of Sheppey?
Oh, okay. Now, do you know, when I knew you was going to ask me that, I thought, how do I answer that? Because I've lived here a long time. I know a lot of people. I love the community spirit of this island. Do you know, the simple things like when you go up to the farm shop on a Sunday morning and everybody's chatting in the queue to get in, and there's always there's somebody you always know wherever you go. But I think if I was really, really honest, it's the sea, the leaves, that beach, the views. Do you know the calmness of living here as well? It is a totally different world, and it is so calm, and it's just.
Yeah, it is a contrast. I mean, you said that you were from London. I spent an awful long time in London as well in my 20s. It is a huge contrast, isn't it?
Yeah. My husband and I had to drive up to London a couple of weeks ago, to central London for his work. And I thought, when I got back home, I thought, oh, wow. And my husband is from London. He hasn't lived here that long. This is, I'm remarried. My late husband sadly passed away, and I've remarried. And he loves this place. In fact, a lot of his friends who don't live here at all, and last year when they come in to visit us, couldn't believe what a beautiful place it is. Could not believe this walk down along the cliffs, down to the Leas, walking right down to Barton's Point. Where else can you get that? All through lockdown, every day when I went out for my hour's walk that I was allowed, I just think, so lucky to live here. All of those people that do live in central London, even just let's be honest, Medway, they haven't got this. And you look out there, and from nearly everywhere you walk around this island, you can see the sea. Even go to Tesco's and you can see the sea.
That's true, yeah.
It's fabulous, and we are so lucky to have it, so lucky. And yes, the island's growing, I know, but I think back to the 70s, and wow, it was a totally different place. It was a real little community. It was so different.
So when we put the podcast out, we will put the links to how to get in touch with Stevie for and consultation or just a quick chat. So hopefully anybody who's listening can also benefit from the service. So thank you so much for being a guest with us today, Stevie. I have learned a awful lot, and I'm hoping that the people who are listening have also learned an awful lot. It's just such an incredibly important service that you offer. And a call out to our listeners to remember that Simply Sheppey is a community podcast. It is your podcast. If there's something that you want to talk about, if there's something that you want to promote, then just get in touch with us at simplysheppey@gmail.com or on our Facebook page at Simply Sheppey. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. And I'd love to come back. Invite me again, please.
Of course, no problems. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.